As much as I'd like to focus on positives in the Airbnb space, I've got more bad news for you guys. This one is, again, a highly unethical move from Airbnb, if it is indeed true. Bloomberg just reported that Airbnb is seeking funds, seeking new investors, and that they're possibly going to be buying distressed assets. On the surface, that doesn't sound bad, but there is potentially a brutal, unethical case of double dealing at play. Let's talk about it. All right, welcome back, Airbnb family. So this is a hot off the press, brand new situation that you guys need to know about. And Bloomberg reports that Airbnb is seeking to raise money, and they're also seeking to buy distressed assets. And by distressed assets, they mean businesses that are in a lower valuation because they're having a hard time surviving. And by that, we mean short-term rental providers like us. They give an example of Sonder, that they could be going after Sonder to buy out Sonder. But Sonder says they're not for sale. And we're going to talk about that too, because there's a reason why they're not for sale. And so what we have here is a little backstory first. Airbnb already owns a company similar to Sonder. They own a part of Lyric. They're an investor in Lyric. And Airbnb may have invested in Zeus as well, if my memory is correct. So they already have a position in the market. What they have is they have data. They know what we are all going through as rental arbitrage or short-term rental businesses. They know the mechanics at the bottom. And so they chose to not give hosts, short-term rental businesses, the money for our reservations, and they basically laid in extenuating circumstances like override on all of our bookings at the detriment of not only our reservations, but the reservations of businesses that they own. When you look at it from one side, it's like, oh, Airbnb is just so cash strapped that they're willing to kneecap the businesses that they have equity in order to not run out of cash, giving hosts the money that they deserve. But first off, we don't actually get to see the books for Zeus or for Lyric, do we? They may be playing favorites. It's quite possible that they're playing favorites and paying them out their host, like their reservations, just not paying us. There could be something like that going on, which would be insane. Now, I cannot say what I'm about to tell you right now is not final. This is my theory on what's going on. I can only tell you what it looks like. I cannot tell you that this is in fact true. And this resembles double dealing. And I'm not talking like resembles like when your kid comes home with like a Thanksgiving turkey picture painting that they use their hand to make the turkey. I'm talking resembles like somebody snapped a photo of you with a Polaroid from like 4 feet away and shook it a few times and handed it to you. And you're like, wow, this really looks like me. This looks like a photo of me. Now, I can't say for sure that that's a photo of me, but gosh, it really looks like it, doesn't it? And it's that kind of resemblance here. What we have, if Airbnb is actively seeking to buy companies similar to Zeus, to Lyric, which they already own pieces of, to Sonder or companies like us, well, what they just did is they intentionally tanked the market on the host side to put businesses in a state of distress. They actually engineered an environment where businesses would be distressed and could be purchased for less. So what they essentially did to us by going back on our contracts, which is quite frankly unethical and arguably illegal, what they did could have very well been intentional to tank businesses so that way they could buy them on the cheap, right? And by buying them on the cheap, they increase their exposure to the customer side and they're integrating closer and closer to the customer. They could even be doing this to Lyric or to Zeus that they're already part owners of. They could be tanking them so they can buy more of those on the cheap. That would be insane. So I wanted to put you front and center on this. You know, I'm super upset at Brian Chesky for stealing our money in the first place. So I'm keeping my eye on this guy. And you all need to know, we need to stay vocal for what we deserve. And we are all owed a lot of money by Airbnb. And we're not going to back off until they come back to the table and give us hosts what we deserve. But we now have what looks like to be a logical, strategic reason why they would screw us. Like absolutely near death for many hosts out there. There's going to be hosts that default on their mortgages and their rent payments. So some hosts will go out of business. And if it's just because Airbnb wanted to buy some other businesses at a discount, that is shameful. And let me actually explain one thing to you. I almost forgot. Sonder said they're not for sale, right? We talked about that. Now, the reason why Sonder's not for sale is because they did something really wicked smart. There are recession triggers in their leases. And I told you guys before when Sonder wrote as one of their recession triggers that the Dow drops like 700 points, they get a month for free. There's other recession triggers in there too, and I can't speak conclusively on those because my contact told me not to talk about them yet until things can be finalized. But there are more than one recession trigger. And with how bad things are going economically right now, I cannot imagine a single recession trigger that has not hit. If you think about it, this is the third biggest drawdown by percentage since the Great Depression. I think this is the second worst month. Actually, this is the second worst month in history since September of the Great Depression. So if anybody wrote any recession triggers into their leases, pretty much I think the sky fell on contract. And so now Sonder has a bunch of months of rent for free, is what we can speculate. And so if Sonder has all their months of rent for free, a big part of their liabilities are out of play. Any money that they make on their properties goes straight towards wages and goes straight towards other operational costs because they are a big company, and then profit. They get to skip rent. So Sonder, of course, is not for sale because everything's going according to plan. So Airbnb tanking the industry in order to buy people in the bargain bin, it's not going to work on Sonder. Sonder could very well come out of this looking like geniuses. So stay tuned for that too. If you have any other questions, leave them in the comments. Join the Facebook group, the Hosts of Airbnb Automated, because a lot of us are finding ways around our problems as hosts because Airbnb has abandoned us, essentially. They've abandoned us as hosts. They are now just a platform, just the same as Booking.com. They are not special by any way, shape, or form. So we as hosts have to solve our own problems. And so there's a big group of smart hosts that are solving problems and getting bookings. So I welcome you to join that group if you're on the search for bookings as we talk right now. So thank you for watching Airbnb Automated. I wish you all a bunch of success. I wish that you all make it through this unscathed as much as possible. And as always, I'll see you on the other side.